Hi guys. The topic here: don't be sitting on the fence or don't be straddling the fence. The topic there was for a reason that a lot of therapists know this, and loan sharks, dope dealers, a lot of folks know this that use this to try to influence their clients. Uh, this is for the client to be aware, and again, innately I think a lot of them are, and a lot of us are. Let me say them, us. A lot of them are aware, and we are aware of that aspect of it. But a lot of times when we're in our addiction and we get out there, before this chemical imbalance develops in our brain and our neurotransmitters change, we still, and maybe even when they do change, maybe they still leave us with a little bit of what used to be common sense and prefrontal cortex part of our brain still working. Uh, what you will see in a minute on the screen, hopefully, is a triangle, and the triangle represents pretty much our psyche, our fundamental, our foundation. And if, as you see in this example up here, when everything is going cool, we have a good solid base. But the minute things go bad and the triangle tips, all of a sudden, now this is a point of vulnerability for a client in a treatment program, or more for a dope man to sell you more dope or charge you a bigger price, whatever. Lord knows what all folks do. But depending on how the therapist, and I'm going to use a therapist in this case because I think some therapists might be watching this as well, use this moment as an influencer, and influence, a nice word. Well, a manipulator, because although we don't want to admit it, we're manipulators. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you, the client, to do something different and try a new way. Now, some of them tell you that, and some of them won't, but that's what we are. We're trying to influence you to do something different. So let's take this example of, we'll call him John. John's been up here and everything's been stable, even in his addiction. Old John's been out there and he's still holding his job and he's doing pretty good, but he decides he wants to get into some cocaine and bump up the alcohol. And John gets out there and John spends a little bit too much money. One eight ball leads to another, and next thing you know, he's up there several $100s. And John ain't, he ain't a rich fella, so. But the addiction tells him to go ahead and spend that money. Go ahead and do that. Well, now, when the high wears off and reality sets back in, John's little foundation is flipped upside down. Now, John's in a crisis. John needs to do something, and he goes to someone. He says, "Man, I just did this. I don't know what to do now." Dope man might say, "Well, hey, I'll front you. I'll front you another couple of eight balls, assuming John will pay. Assuming he knows John will pay. I'll front you a couple of eight balls to help get you through this. I can't help you with money. If you want to take the eight balls and sell them, that's up to you. But I'm gonna front you that because you're a good customer." So at this point, this pivotal point with John might never ever in his life even thought about selling any of his dope. But all of a sudden now, in this moment of crisis he has. That's just one example of how you could push it. Let's take that same example with John. He goes to a buddy, been talking to him about getting in treatment or trying to do something different. Man, I spent up $800. I don't have the money. I've got to do something. I'm so sick and tired of the way I'm living and what I'm doing. Well, his buddy, if he's a good AA or NA sponsor, he's not going to give him the money. He's not going to help him out of the situation. But what he will do, well, gee, John, maybe maybe it's time you come in and try out a meeting. It's not going to solve his financial problems. It's not going to solve your addiction right away. There's no quick fixes. But if you go there and you listen, and you be honest with yourself, and you be open, and you be willing, maybe you can get something out of this that will help you in the future, so that you don't do this again. So it really depends, guys, on the way you approach the situation with a client. And I guess I'm talking about this from the counselor perspective. But from the client perspective, to you, in terms of situational in terms of situational awareness, we need to be more cognizant of the fact that when we get into this little crisis, as addicts tend to do and alcoholics constantly, when we get into this, those moments that we are in crisis are the most important in terms of the decisions we make. If you look on the internet, and you've learned probably in your treatment programs, and they teach that there's a cycle of addiction. A cycle of addiction. Our coping mechanism is messed up because of our drug and alcohol use, and we substituted that thing for so long that the cycle starts. Man, I ain't gonna use no more. Maybe we don't, and then everything goes along, rocks, okay, and then all of a sudden here, man, we got up on a problem. Well, let's go back to John's example. One way to handle that problem would be either the former of the examples or the latter. But unfortunately, most addicts just automatically result when a problem occurs to using drugs or alcohol. They don't try to do anything to intervene in that cycle. And that's where treatment comes in, teaching us how. Some other things to do, some other tools other than what we normally do. But the addict will go ahead and he'll use. Then, well, the cycle goes on around. Well, now, again, he's in another crisis. Because the crisis he started out using, that led him to using again, has led him into another crisis situation. He's used more money, wasted more resources, and burned his own body up. And then this next phase was, man, I just bargaining. I ain't gonna do it no more. I'm gonna do something different. I got to. We mean that with all our intentions. And then we get back to this point where we've got our foundation again. It's shaky, but we still got it now. But the point is, right here at this critical juncture where the problem arises, you don't call your sponsor after you done messed up. You call him or her before you mess up to help you break this cycle of addiction that you've developed. You got one or two choices. You can call your sponsor, you can go talk to someone about getting some help, or you can Go back and talk to the dope man, see if y'all can negotiate another deal. That's about the gist of this video. I'm not going to make it longer. Later, there are some upcoming videos. I'm going to do one on addictive relationships, why love goes wrong in recovery. That's a topic that comes up all the time in treatment, and I've got a few points on that I'd like to share. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps it grow, so I can get out there to more folks. And a comment, leave a comment. If you disagree with what I said, I don't care. Leave a comment. The comments help. They motivate me to know that somebody's paying attention, and maybe help them or help me. So for now, I won't waste any more time.